Hi, I'm Shannon McGee, strategic business coach and franchise owner with Network in Action here in the Nashville metropolitan area and nationwide. And today I have Jason Egly with the Egly Insurance Company Agency. Agency, I think is
Agency,
the correct
yeah.
word. Agency. Awesome. Thanks for joining me, Jason.
Oh, thanks. I'm so glad to be here.
Okay, so tell me your story. What made you decide to go into insurance?
Because insurance is fun, right? Everybody loves it. No, actually, I was an elementary school teacher for 15 years. So I was involved in the education and nonprofit sector for a long time. I taught elementary school, I taught high school, I taught at the community college level. But I've got three daughters. They're all currently in college right now, and teaching is like the hardest job in America, and some of the lowest pay.
Yeah.
And one day I was like, I've got three college age daughters. Somebody's got to put them through college, and you can't really do it on a teacher's salary.
Yeah.
But I love to teach, I love to educate. And I had an opportunity. I actually was recruited by a farmer's insurance recruiter. And I thought, why would you want me to be an insurance agent? And they were like, because educators make the best insurance
Mm.
agents because
Oh,
that you explain things to your customer. We like to have people who can go line by line with customers, help them understand what they need and understand what they're getting. And I was like, oh, and that. So I lit up with that. I was like, I see it now. So there's not only being in business for myself, owning a small business, which is my agency. I love that. But secondly, being able to also still do what I love, which is teach and educate. And I love, building relationships. So that's the reason. That's why I love it. I
that's
love to help people find something new that they didn't know about, their risk assessment.
managing risk. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that. And it kind of leads into this. We were talking before this a little bit about how the insurance industry, one, it's so competitive. Rates just continue to go up. People seem to always be price shopping, but that doesn't always mean it's in their best interest. And so
right.
I love this heart of a teacher that you've talked about, but what would you say like to people that it's like, man, it's just a commodity thing, it's
Right.
just a price thing. Like help us understand, what sets you
Right.
apart and how you come along the journey with them.
Yeah, that's such a great question. I mean, the cost of everything is going up, right? I mean, the cost of milk and eggs and gasoline has been through the roof, and it's a problem. And so, I understand the price shopping. When I look at my own insurance premiums, I'm like, goodness gracious, how are we going to mitigate that? But there's got to be some kind of give and take there, because I understand a lot of the industry forces that are driving this is more strong and frequent storms. If you just look outside and you're like, oh my gosh, there's a tornado every 2 weeks or a massive flood, and so Farmers Insurance, which is one of the companies that I represent, paid out $1.32 in claims for every dollar they took in premium last year. That's
Mm,
not a winning strategy. And so you
no.
can see if you say, well, why did my premiums go up by 30%? Well, there's your answer in real life, right? And so
Yeah.
we've got to help customers find solutions. Yes, rates are going to go up. Nobody can stop that. But the worst thing you can do is go in and slash coverages, right? So that, it might help with your premium, but now, you're not covered. So there's got to be a happy medium. So what I love to do, and there's always something you can do. You can look at deductibles. You can say, hey, these endorsements were nice to have at a time when my policy was cheap, but
Mhm.
now, maybe I only need the must-haves. And so
Mhm.
helping customers, but if you don't talk through the policy, if you don't help them understand the everyday customer, everyday insurance buyer, consumer may not know exactly what things are safe to cut and what things aren't. And so we
Absolutely.
can go in line by line and really help find a solution to where we can solve the price problem without giving away too much on the coverage problem.
Yeah, I love that because, At the end of the day, there's a lot of people in your industry that are just looking at a bottom line and they're just looking to
Right.
take money and get a policy.
Right.
And then there's horror stories about
Right.
people, I'm not saying unethical, it's just this way that a lot of people operate in the industry. But then what
Right.
happens is something tragic happens or something, and they think they're covered and they're not because they never
Right.
got the education that you're
Right.
taking the time. So at the end of the day, after speaking with you, they're going to feel comfortable and knowledgeable of what it includes, what it doesn't include,
Right.
right? But to take that question away
Right.
should anything happen. So
Right.
I'm sure, given your, methodology and how you work with your clients, I'm sure you have some great stories. Do you have a favorite, like maybe customer story, anything you want to share?
Well, yeah. So one of the things is a couple of years ago, one of my insureds, I was working with him. I insured his business, I insured his home, I insured his investment properties, and uh, and he's higher than average net worth. And I had just mentioned to him, I said, you really should consider an umbrella policy. And he's like, I don't even know what that is. And I was like, well, it's excess liability in case you get sued for something. You want to have some insurance coverage to make sure somebody doesn't come for your net worth. And he said, Jason, whatever, I trust you. Just if you think I need it, put it on. Okay. So I did. You never tell an insurance agent that, by the way, because we will do that. But he said, I trust you. Just put it on. Add me an umbrella policy. Sure. So we added him an extra $1 million of liability protection. Story's a little bit sad in that he was skiing in Colorado on vacation, and he had a skiing accident and he injured someone else. So he was coming down the
Oh,
ski slope and he was out of control. As I've had a skiing accident before, it's no fun, and it can happen to anyone. But he ran over somebody below him, and it injured that person pretty badly, with several $100,000 worth of medical bills. Well, immediately that person sued him. And so he called me in a panic saying, Jason, I got sued. Please tell me that I have something that can help me. And I said, Mark, do you remember that umbrella policy I sold you a couple of years ago? He said, yeah. I was like, you've got $1 million in liability protection. And um, my company wrote the check in 2 days and settled that claim, and also took care of the injured party as well. Because see, if this wasn't just helping my client, it was also helping the injured party.
yeah.
Because if Mark had not carried that umbrella policy, um, you know, I don't know that the injured party would have been compensated for their rightful injuries. And so everybody was made whole in that situation. And the good news there is that injured party is now like back to good health. So, but
Good.
it was a terrible situation. But that's what I like to do is really, provide solutions. Maybe point out something that you didn't know you need, or maybe you've got some exposure that you didn't know you had. That's my job.
Mhm.
And you might not want to pay that extra $300 a year for an umbrella policy, but I can tell you that's probably the best $300 he ever spent. So,
Absolutely. What an amazing story. Like, thank you for sharing that because I think we all kind of wrap our heads around home, auto, business,
right,
not vacation,
right,
right? Like, it's the stuff that people don't think about and why
right,
it's important to speak with an expert that has their best interest in mind. This isn't about closing a sale. This is about mitigating risk
right,
and serving your clients. So,
right.
Jason, if someone want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, I mean, email is by far the best at jason@eglyagency.com. But I respond to calls and texts and carrier pigeons and Facebook messages and anything. You can Google me, and there's about 17 different ways to get a hold of me. But so we're pretty responsive across all channels. But a good old-fashioned email is probably the best way.
Sounds great. Well, thanks for joining me today, Jason. It's been fun.
So glad to do it, and just super excited to connect with you and to be a part of what you've got going on.
Thanks, Jason.
You're welcome.